Hello, it's me, the Criminologist. Tonight, we're diving into two harrowing stories of loss, obsession, and unanswered questions. I walk you step by step through what happened, who was involved, and how the truth unfolded. Listen closely. The details matter. This case takes us back to January 13th, 1999, in Baltimore County, Maryland. Hae Min Lee, an 18-year-old high school senior at Woodlawn High School, vanished under mysterious circumstances that Wednesday afternoon, setting off a chain of events that would shock the nation for years to come. On that day, Hae attended her classes as usual. She was last seen leaving school at approximately 2:15 p.m., just after the final bell had rung. She had a busy schedule planned for the afternoon. She was supposed to pick up her younger cousin from elementary school and then head to her after-school job at a lens crafter's optical store in a nearby mall. However, Hae never arrived at either location. Her family grew concerned when she failed to pick up her cousin, an action highly uncharacteristic of the responsible teenager. By 3:15 p.m., she had missed her scheduled arrival time at the daycare center where her cousin was waiting. This absence immediately raised red flags for her family, who knew Hae to be punctual and reliable. As the afternoon wore on and there was still no sign of the girl, the family's worry intensified. Around 5 p.m., they contacted the police to report her missing. Officers began by calling Hae's various friends in an attempt to locate her. Among those contacted was her ex-boyfriend, Adnan Syed, who was 17 years old at the time. When questioned, Syed stated that he had last seen Hae when classes ended at school. This initial statement would later become a crucial point in the investigation and subsequent legal proceedings. Officials also visited lens crafters and spoke to the manager, who confirmed that Hae never showed up, nor called in advance to declare her absence. By the early morning hours of January 14th, police had managed to reach Hae's new boyfriend, Don. Don informed the authorities that he had last spoken to her on January 12th, the day before her disappearance, and had no information about her current whereabouts. As days passed without any sign of Hae, the search intensified. By January 15th, local hospitals had been contacted, and the surrounding area had been searched for Hae's car, a 1998 Nissan Sentra. For nearly 4 weeks, her fate remained unknown, leaving family, friends, and the community in a state of anguished uncertainty. The breakthrough in the case came on February 9, 1999, when a shocking discovery was made in a large urban park in Baltimore City called Leakin Park. On that day, a man named Alonzo Soares was in the park when he stumbled upon a disturbing sight. While relieving himself in a secluded area of the park, he discovered a partially buried body. He immediately alerted the authorities, setting in motion the next phase of the investigation. The park was known locally as a place where bodies were sometimes dumped. The location of Hae's body, partially concealed in a shallow grave, suggested a deliberate attempt to hide evidence of a crime. Upon arrival, law enforcement officials began examining and recovering the body. The remains were soon identified as those of Hae Min Lee, bringing a tragic end to the missing person investigation and transforming the case into a homicide. The autopsy revealed that Hae had died by manual strangulation, providing investigators with crucial information about the nature of the crime. Just a few days later, an anonymous caller suggested that the police should focus their investigation on Adnan Syed, Hae's ex-boyfriend. Detectives began to piece together Hae's last known movements and interactions. They learned that on the day of her disappearance, she had attended her classes as usual at Woodlawn High School. Several classmates reported seeing her at the end of the school day, with the last confirmed sighting at around 2:15 p.m. as she left school premises. The investigation turned when detectives began questioning Jay Wiles, a friend of Syed's. Jay provided a statement to the police that would become central to the case against Syed. According to Jay, Syed had expressed intentions of killing Hae and had enlisted Jay's help in burying the body. Jay claimed that on January 13th, Syed had shown him Hae's body in the trunk of her car at the Best Buy parking lot. If true, this account placed Syed at the scene of the crime and implicated him in the murder. However, Jay's involvement and testimony later became one of the most contentious aspects of the case. His account changed several times during the investigation and subsequent trials, raising questions about his credibility and the reliability of his testimony. On February 16, 1999, Baltimore police applied for cell phone records for a phone belonging to Syed. These records would later play a crucial role in the prosecution's case against him, although their reliability would also be called into question in later years. The investigation culminated on February 28th when Syed was arrested in the early hours of the morning at his home. He was charged with first-degree murder despite being only 17 years old at the time. Syed's family hired defense attorney Cristina Gutierrez to represent him. Gutierrez was a well-known defense attorney in Baltimore with a reputation for fierce advocacy. However, her handling of the case would later become a point of controversy and a key factor in subsequent appeals. The first trial began in December 1999 but was short-lived. During a sidebar discussion between Gutierrez and Judge William Quarles, the judge made a comment that Gutierrez interpreted as accusing her of lying. Unaware that jurors were within earshot, she vocally objected to the perceived accusation. When it became clear that jurors had overheard the exchange, the judge declared a mistrial. While a setback for the prosecution, the mistrial may have been an opportunity missed for Syed. According to an affidavit from Douglas Colbert, who represented Syed at his bail hearing, several jurors from the first trial indicated they were leaning toward acquittal based on the evidence presented up to that point. Specifically, 4 jurors stated they would not have returned a guilty verdict. A 5th indicated she would have voted not guilty, and 2 others expressed difficulty believing the state's case. The second trial began in January 2000 and lasted 6 weeks. It proved more challenging for the defense. The prosecution, led by Assistant State's Attorney Kevin Urich, presented a case that relied heavily on 2 key elements: Jay Wiles's testimony and cell phone tower evidence. Jay described driving around with Syed for several hours and later helping to bury the body after Syed confessed to the murder. The cell phone records obtained by officials appeared to corroborate parts of Jay's account. On February 5, 2000, after a 2-hour deliberation, the jury found Syed guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, false imprisonment, and robbery. He remained calm as the verdict was read, reportedly saying, "I'll be all right. I have faith in the Lord. I know I didn't kill her. The Lord knows I didn't kill her." The sentencing hearing took place on June 6, 2000. In an emotional testimony, High's mother spoke about the impact of her daughter's death. "I would like to forgive her killer, but as of now, I just don't know how I could," she said. "When I die, my daughter will die with me. As long as I live, my daughter is buried in my heart." Reports stated she nearly collapsed as she stepped off the witness stand and that her sobs could be heard outside the courtroom. Judge Quarles sentenced Syed to life in prison plus 30 years. In May 2010, Syed sought post-conviction relief, alleging ineffective assistance of counsel. He argued that Gutierrez had failed to investigate an alibi witness, Asia McLean, who maintained she was talking with Syed in the library at the exact time prosecutors said the attack occurred. In January 2014, the petition was denied by Justice Martin Welch, who found that the failure to call McLean as a witness was strategic rather than incompetent. In March 2022, a joint motion was filed by Syed's defense attorney and the Baltimore City State's attorney requesting new DNA testing on Hayya's clothing, shoes, and kit, which had never been tested for DNA. In September 2022, prosecutors filed a motion to vacate the conviction, citing several reasons including Brady violations, new evidence, alternative suspects, and concerns about the cell phone records. On September 19, 2022, Circuit Court Judge Melissa Finn vacated Syed's conviction, and he was released from prison the same day. Prosecutors subsequently filed to drop all charges against him. Hayes' brother, Young Lee, appealed the decision to vacate the conviction, arguing he had not been given sufficient notice of the hearing nor adequate opportunity to participate. On March 28, 2023, an appellate court reinstated Syed's conviction in a 2-1 decision. The court found that young Lee was not given sufficient notice to attend the hearing in person and that prosecutors had failed to adequately state their reasons for vacating Syed's conviction. However, the court acknowledged that Judge Finn had given young Lee the opportunity to address the court during the hearing. Syed appealed the case to the Maryland Supreme Court, which initially stayed reinstatement pending resolution of the appeal. On August 30, 2024, the Maryland Supreme Court reinstated his murder conviction in a 4-3 decision and ordered a redo of the vacatur hearing that had led to his release, while Syed remained free from prison pending the outcome of the new hearing. Taylor Parker's early life began amid a complex web of family dynamics, personal struggles, and a pattern of deception that ultimately led to tragic consequences. Born in 1993, Taylor's childhood and adolescence set the stage for a troubled adult life. She grew up in a household that, from the outside, may have appeared relatively normal. But behind closed doors, the reality was more complicated. Her parents, Shona and Mark Morton, divorced when Taylor was between 10 and 12 years old. Her younger brother Zach was around 8 at the time. This significant life event likely had a profound impact on Taylor's emotional development and her perception of family stability. During early school years, she showed signs of attention-seeking behavior or possible early manifestations of more serious issues. In 3rd grade, she began complaining of stomach problems that mysteriously resolved on weekends but resurfaced on school days. This pattern suggested school-related anxiety or the use of physical complaints to gain attention or avoid school. Family members concluded these issues were likely tied to a particular teacher and a perceived lack of attention. This early incident may have been one of the first instances where Taylor learned to use fabricated health issues to manipulate her environment or gain sympathy. As Taylor progressed through school, she became involved in competitive cheerleading during middle school. The activity provided a sense of belonging and achievement. Her relationship with her father, Mark, appears to have been particularly problematic. Zach's testimony described a father who was largely absent except when he needed something, a pattern of conditional attention that can profoundly affect a child's emotional development and future relationships. Taylor's later intense focus on securing and maintaining male attention may have roots in this paternal relationship. As a teenager, Taylor's pattern of fabricated health issues or attention-seeking behaviors escalated. Details are limited, but testimony from later relationships suggested this behavior had become a well-established part of her life. Her first marriage to Tommy resulted in the birth of 2 children. This early entry into parenthood suggests she sought stability and purpose through traditional roles, but the events that followed showed she struggled with the realities of these responsibilities. In 2014, at age 21, Taylor underwent a tubal ligation procedure. The decision to permanently prevent future pregnancies at a young age was unusual and may indicate significant stress or uncertainty about motherhood. According to testimony, Taylor was extremely upset afterward, suggesting conflict about her choice or a lack of understanding of its long-term implications. The following year, she underwent a medically necessary hysterectomy, resulting in the complete removal of her uterus. The psychological impact of this surgery on a 22-year-old woman was profound. These medical procedures occurred within the context of Taylor's first marriage. The stress of young parenthood and significant medical interventions likely strained the relationship, which ended before Taylor's second marriage to Hunter Parker. In this second relationship, Taylor's pattern of deception became more pronounced. She did not disclose her inability to have children until after they were married, suggesting a deep fear of rejection and a willingness to deceive to maintain the relationship. Taylor claimed to suffer various medical problems and even faked seizures to keep the relationship intact. Her desperation to have a child, particularly a daughter, became a dominant theme. After her hysterectomy, she falsely claimed to friends that she had been diagnosed with uterine cancer and even offered 2 friends $100,000 each to act as surrogates. No one accepted, but the offer demonstrated the lengths Taylor was willing to go. Taylor's lies about pregnancy and childbirth grew increasingly elaborate. She told people she had miscarried twins and lost another daughter immediately after birth. She fabricated a story about hiring a surrogate, then claimed that Hunter had cheated with the surrogate. Her second marriage ended in April 2019. Within weeks, she began dating Wade Griffin. This quick transition suggested an inability to be alone and a reliance on relationships for validation and stability. Taylor's deception escalated. She falsely claimed to be an heiress with nearly $5 million incoming to buy a large farm. She created an intricate story about her mother stealing her inheritance and hiring a hitman to kill Taylor and Wade, even claiming her private detective had foiled the plot. In January 2020, Taylor told Griffin she was pregnant and provided a due date of September 22, 2020. To sell the lie, she reused sonogram images from previous pregnancies and faked urine tests to show positive results. She avoided medical appointments, claiming bomb threats at clinics or family emergencies to postpone checkups, and even claimed to have had a tummy tuck to explain why she wasn't showing. Despite convincing many in her social circle, cracks began to appear. In mid-September, weeks before her supposed due date, ex-husband Tommy anonymously texted Griffin multiple times revealing Taylor had undergone a hysterectomy and was using old sonograms to fake pregnancy. This revelation set off events that led to tragedy. Rather than come clean, Taylor became more desperate. She researched where pregnant women gather, studied C-section procedures, and tracked a pregnant patient outside a clinic in Paris, Texas, learning the woman's patterns and considering her a potential victim. Ultimately, prosecutors say she targeted Reagan Simmons. Reagan Simmons was born on November 14, 1998, in Hope, Arkansas. At 21, she had married her high school sweetheart, Homer Hancock, in September 2019. The couple was already parents to a 3-year-old daughter, Kinley. Reagan embraced motherhood and was diligently preparing for the arrival of her second daughter, Braxlyn Sage. At the time of the attack, Reagan was 34 weeks pregnant and in good health. She had regular checkups and was described by friends and family as glowing and excited for her child's arrival. Taylor and Reagan met through social media. Their relationship was not close but friendly enough that Taylor had taken Reagan's engagement and wedding photos. The connection makes the betrayal that followed even more shocking. On October 9, 2020, in New Boston, Texas, Taylor arrived at Reagan's home at approximately 7:30 a.m. Phone records indicate brief text message exchanges between the two women between 7:22 a.m. and 7:52 a.m. What happened next was unimaginably violent. Prosecutors say Taylor launched a frenzied attack, subduing Reagan and ending her life. Reagan fought fiercely, suffering numerous defensive wounds to her hands and arms. One of Taylor's fingers was dislocated in the struggle. Prosecutors alleged Taylor used a mason jar filled with sand and item from Reagan's wedding to strike her repeatedly. When strangulation failed due to strong resistance, Taylor allegedly stabbed Reagan many times. The medical examiner's report listed more than 100 stab wounds. The most horrific detail came next. With Reagan still alive, Taylor allegedly cut into her abdomen, hip to hip, and removed the unborn child. Prosecutors emphasized the agonizing pain Reagan must have felt during this act. After removing the baby and placenta, Taylor continued her assault. According to courtroom testimony, when Taylor had the baby and Reagan was still alive, she began slashing further. Ultimately, Taylor used the scalpel she had used to remove the child to end Reagan's life. Less than 2 hours after the estimated time of the murder, at approximately 9:37 a.m., Taylor was seen driving erratically by police in Idabel, Oklahoma, about 12 miles northwest of the crime scene. When officers pulled her over, they encountered a shocking sight. Taylor claimed she had just given birth in her car and was holding a newborn in her lap with the umbilical cord still attached, appearing to be coming out of her clothes. Officers quickly arranged for Taylor and the infant to be taken to McCurtain Memorial Hospital. There, medical staff rapidly determined Parker had not given birth. An external examination revealed she had no uterus. An internal exam showed no blood in the vaginal canal and no cervix. Blood tests confirmed she had no pregnancy hormones in her system. Despite mounting evidence, Taylor continued to insist she had given birth and even claimed Reagan had asked her to cut the baby out after an altercation, an assertion thoroughly debunked by evidence and Taylor's own inconsistent statements. While at the hospital, the infant received emergency care. Tragically, the baby had been deprived of oxygen and suffered extensive brain damage. Despite medical efforts, Braxlin was taken off life support and declared dead at 1:22 p.m. on October 9, 2020. Back in New Boston at approximately 10:20 a.m., Reagan's mother, Jessica Brooks, arrived at her daughter's home after being unable to reach her. She found Reagan's body in the home, surrounded by blood, and immediately called emergency services. Law enforcement quickly connected the murder in New Boston to the woman claiming to have just given birth in Idabel. The timeline, proximity, and circumstances pointed to a direct link. DNA testing confirmed the infant did indeed belong to Reagan. Taylor was arrested for kidnapping and murder. In the days following the arrest, investigators uncovered extensive evidence of Taylor's elaborate scheme to fake pregnancies. Online searches about faking pregnancy symptoms, obtaining sonograms, and studying videos of C-sections. The trial began in September 2022 and lasted about 2 months. On October 3, 2022, a Bowie County jury found Taylor Parker guilty of capital murder in the deaths of Reagan and her unborn child, Braxlin. During the penalty phase, both sides presented evidence and testimony to help the jury determine an appropriate sentence. On November 9, 2022, after deliberating for just over an hour, the jury sentenced Taylor Parker to death. The jury concluded she posed a future danger and found no sufficiently mitigating circumstances to warrant life imprisonment instead of the death penalty. Thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, subscribe to Criminologist for in-depth breakdowns of true crime cases, clear timelines, and the evidence that shapes our justice system. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Which details struck you the most? And remember, investigate responsibly. Until next time.